Hi, I'm JV from Supersymmetry, and this is how I made Open Arms by Supersymmetry, with Open Arms by Supersymmetry. Okay, whatever.
But if I ask you, give me a chance, I'm not wasted.
So basically, that's the main idea. So the idea of this started out with the chord progression itself. Let me just fix that. With the chord progression itself, which is this guitar track right here. It started out with this. So I thought it sounded jazzy and amazing, and I don't know, man. I just thought that maybe I could put this on a song or something. Anyway, for recording, let's focus more on tracking and what I did that made it sound the way it is, because I think that's what you're here for. So here in the acoustic bus, by the way, I start with like a freaking template because that's easy. So actually, let's start first with the drums. Basically, it started out with that acoustic guitar thing, and let's go to the drums. So what I do for my drums, because I don't have a live drums and also I can't play drums, is what I do is I layer it like so. As you can see, there's multiple tracks which I mix and then put a compressor, EQ, and that becomes this. So this is the main. So it sounds like that, and we can get to the hi-hat, which really for all of my drums it's all the same, but once it gets here in the drum bus, you can see that it has two outputs. So the first one goes to master, and the second one goes to the overhead, the quote unquote on the overhead, because it's not really an overhead, but rather. Okay, so here's the thing. If you don't have an overhead, this is what it would sound like. So basically what I did here is sort of simulate what it would sound like if there was overhead mics on a real drum that is playing. So without an overhead, this is what it sounds like. Pretty good, but you know, it's better with this. It really is able to capture that realism, especially since these are just a bunch of drum samples. As you can see, it's still open here because I'm really terrible. Okay, anyway, for the snare, pretty much the same thing. You just take this and then just layer it. I try to mix it as much as possible, but I'm really bad at trying to mix the tone. I'm so bad at tone design when it comes to snare. Same can be said for the crash and the toms. But I did what I could to be able to do that. Next, the bass. This is what I did with the bass. Just following the chords, sort of. Now, here's what I realized. It turns out that if you just sort of record pre, like usually it says here, it's recording pre, when you put line in. So, yeah, there we go. It says here pre for acoustic, right? But it's okay because I did this. We'll get back to that. But basically here, because I'm using like an amp simulator, what happens is that it actually does so much stuff to the CPU, it overloads the CPU almost. So what I do instead, as you can see here, I record post, which means that it saves the recording after it has gone through the plugins instead of before, which obviously that means you wouldn't be able to get the raw signal, but at the same time you would be able to save a lot of CPU usage, which is just amazing for this, obviously. So the next one is the acoustic guitar, obviously. This is pretty easy. This is just running through some EQ. So let me discuss it first. So we're going through some EQ right here. This is the raw. The raw sounds really terrible. It's chock full of bass. Oh my god. I'm really bad at recording. Then we get some compression in here. It's the manufacturers of ADHD audio tools say that their simulator is from an LA2A, but first of all, there's a bunch of controls. That's not what an LA2A looks like. And second, It looks like an 1176 for me. I don't know. You guys tell me. It looks like an 1176. Emulates an LA2A, or as they prefer to say it, inspired. And yeah. So that's just a bunch of stuff. Oh, by the way, limiter. You can see that when it goes to the verse, right? Usually it clashes with the sound.
When I wake up,
So what I did instead
I
is
find the things that I want.
put
There's
a
nowhere
what I did here is put a sidechain compressor to compress, to sort of limit the signal whenever there's a vocal, like in the verse. That way it mixes well. That's really key to making it sound together, is sidechain compression, and also make sure that your EQ is correct. So next, in here we have our keys. Where is the keys? Right here. So this is the main key. I use the plugin called Addictive Keys. I don't know if it's gonna load. That's rather not. You know what Addictive Keys look like. You can Google it, but basically this is what it sounds like. I have no plugins for this. I didn't put any plugins. I just directly just put it on the master because it already sounds good. So I don't feel like there's any use to adding more. And here in the chorus, it's a different chord. It's a 4-5-3 sort of deal. Yeah, that's sort of the thing. There's also yeah, I forgot. There's percussion here. It's sitting really low on the mix. Just to sort of add layer and add that sort of urgency into it. So my string is just silent. I hope it doesn't do that thing, but I basically copy pasted this and then made it sustain longer, and that's the synths. So for the electric guitars, as you can see here, this one's pretty easy. The electric guitars here run into an amp simulator, a Marshall. Let me see, Marshall Jubilee 2555, and before that I put a TSE 808 V2 Tube Screamer. So there's a Tube Screamer before this, and then this is the Marshall by Softube. I got this for free because of the Scarlett Solo bundle, which I bought. So this comes free with it. It's worth $50, and honestly, it's so worth it. It sounds amazing. I'm just really bad at mixing, but it sounds amazing on its own. And as you can see, again, I'm recording post, because if I record pre, it's going to really mess up my amp. You can see I turn off the plugins are turned off, but so that's the sound of it. I put it into this sort of EQ compression and two compressors, two side chains actually. The first one comes from, I believe, this comes from the chorus, I believe, and there's a secondary one. I don't know why that is, but I respect that. So let's listen to the verse. This one's pretty simple. I believe I have an EQ mistake here because I'm bad at EQing.
when I wake up.
There we go. It sounds too nasally, so I'm just gonna adjust that.
When I wake up, I find the things that I want. It's nowhere to be found. It really ain't around. A brand new day without you by my side.
There we go. Now it sounds way better. So that's the verse, and then we can get to the chorus. Let's get to the main chorus first, which is not impressive. You know, it's just one line. I didn't even triple track it, which is usually when I want a really thick sounding sort of chorus, what I would do is record this main line,
But if I ask you, give me a chance.
and then track it another 2 times, panned left to right, and it will go here on this backup sort of tracks. But instead, what I did is just put a little bit of chorus effect on that right here, and then some tape delay. Tape delay is so good, by the way. It really fills up the space and makes it fuller, and some reverb, and that's what I did. So that, And for before we get to actually, let's go to the backup. So these are the backup vocals, panned hard left and right.
But if I ask you, give me a chance, I might waste it. And if the romance fades, I'll try to chase it somewhere else.
I tracked it twice instead of, you can copy paste it, but it will not sound correct because it will just be the same thing playing over. It's the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing as just making it go center, when you're copy pasting and it's panned left to right. Instead, I recorded it twice.
But if I ask you, give me a chance.
Going through the same
and
effects.
If the romance fades, I'll try to chase it somewhere else.
And finally, we got our choir here going on. And again, it's panned hard left to right, so which means it only has like 2 distinct vocals that harmonizes with itself, but I did it in a way where I panned it left to right and recorded it twice. I don't really know how to do choir harmony things. I just sort of go by feel, and together that sounds like this.
But if I ask you, give me a chance, I'm not wasted.
Oh yeah, would you like me to remove some of the parts and you can hear what it sounded like? First, let's remove the choir.
But if I ask you, give me a chance, I'm not wasted.
Next, let's try to remove the... I'm gonna remove the subtle things. Next, let's remove the synths.
But if I ask you, give me a chance, I'm not wasted. And if the romance fades, I'll try to chase it up.
So even though it's low volume, you can actually hear the difference. That's why it's important to be able to know how to level your instruments correctly, and second, you should know that every layer helps, no matter how small or big the volume is. So finally, let's get to the electric guitar. This is really a simple thing.
You're the best, I keep saying that. I'll be grateful in every...
If you can hear, on this album, I'm really bad at doing palm muted rhythm things on the verse. I really have a hard time trying to time it. I should definitely practice guitar more, but that's what we got.
And in a movie full of magic, but the ambience of your love is real. I'm going breathless, counting all the reasons why I'm greatly in debt of your company. I don't understand.
I should not have sustained the bass here. It should have been like this. It should have been like bam, then nothing. Bam 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 bam, nothing. Bam 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 bam, nothing. But I suck. So I ended up sustaining it, and now it doesn't actually sound like a beat drop. It just sounds like...
I'm going breathless, counting all the reasons why I'm greatly in debt for your company. I don't understand. You could ever pick some...
And then the guitar solo that I really failed because I was also recording my face on a camera for my story. So that I kind of failed it. I tried to cut it in half and try to retake it, but it's still a failure. So this is what it sounds like. It's going through a Marshall amp simulator again, just like before, but this time I put a delay, a stereo ping pong delay, so toot 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 goes left to right, and then I EQ'd it in a way that I pretty much just got rid of the mids. Yeah, kind of like this, because I don't like the mids. Even on the amp sim right here, you can see that I removed the mids a lot, because I want it to be like, I want it to be screamy. I want it to be really, really powerful sounding. Really, you can hear it amidst all of the things that are happening in the song. So this is what the solo sounds like. There we go, I fixed it. This is what the guitar solo sounds like now that I fixed it. By the way, that tone comes from usually for that tone actually just comes from the distortion and the delay. It doesn't have a chorus effect, so it sounds like that on its own. And as a matter of fact, if I turn off, oh yeah, the delay's already recorded into it, but yeah. It's so good having a delay, so you should really do that. Anyways, that's the entire song. Yeah, I just decided I want people to hear the entire thing, the thing, but without the freaking instruments. I want to hear them.
But if I ask you, give me a chance, I might waste it.
Just because it's so beautiful. Okay, that's it. Bye.